Hello and welcome to this demonstration of a incremental migration after a repository upgrade or after an update of your Siebel application. So in this case, we have a successful update including repository upgrade. You have seen a previous demonstration of that, and that repository upgrade imported some stuff for 22.11 finally into our main workspace. So we have gone through creating a temporary integration workspace called int.ru. We used as the parent for the repository upgrade, resulting in this other integration workspace as a child, which got delivered from this development workspace. So this was an automated process. We then delivered manually into int.ru. We completed the tests and we delivered manually into main. So the result is main version 8. And that would be just as you would apply any other customizations, just as you basically imported zip files from Oracle here and you merged them. However, the repository upgrade does not only import repository object definitions, but also most of the times schema changes and many times seed data changes. So if you look at the migration application from that perspective, you have to transport schema changes, repository changes, and seed data changes. So that could be a list of values or other seed data. Now, the list of values, let's check out the migration application, see what services we have. So we have the schema service taking care of course, the schema changes in an incremental manner. So it's always inherently incremental because it applies the delta. So any schema changes, the repository upgrade made in the development database are transported to the test or production environment using the schema service. Now, if you don't do we are doing an incremental migration, so the incremental runtime repository data service will take care of all workspace managed repository data that have been imported through the repository upgrade. So that's fine. Then we have the incremental application workspace data service, which will take care of the workspace managed seed or administrative data, which at the time of recording is just a list of values, but in future could be more than that. And anything else, literally, outside of the repository and outside of the workspace managed seed data is handled by the application data service. And the point here is that the repository upgrade knows well which seed data it imports. So let's take a look at a file, and we find that probably in the log archive since I restarted the folder. Let's search for a data mig.enp file. And there you have it. Actually, the log archive contains more than one, so the latest one from my recent repository upgrade. Let's open that in its location. So you see that's the folder created by the repository upgrade with all its temporary files, etc. And there's a data mig.enp file, which it generates for the purpose of using together with the application data service. So you make sure you transport the data that was actually inserted. So let's take a look at that file, and we see that it contains the one responsibility. So you see row ID, it's the same row ID here, it's just a weird where clause. So in 22.11, actually from 22.10 to 11, which was this tiny upgrade, there was one responsibility inserted, that product authoring responsibility. So you don't have to create that manually. When you apply the repository upgrade and use this data make IMP file will take care of, well, moving that record over or copying it over or, well, inserting it in the correct test or production database. You also have a new keyword for test automation taken care of here, and, well, system preferences. So you notice list of values is not here. So there might have been no list of values imported as C data, or you can make sure you have all your list of values using the application workspace data service. So these records, let's check them out in here. So I prepared a few queries. So here we have this product authoring super user responsibility. Of course, you can make a note to create it manually if you need that feature in test or production, but it's designed to use the application data service to just get transported over. Then here's the keyword. So the new invoke REST keyword will make it to your test environment. That would be probably important. And there's also system preferences, which are related to Clinical 1 in 2211. So a new integration, which happens to be. So you can make your choice, whatever you want to transport at this time. So by modifying, well, probably this INP file before you put it in the correct location, which is not this log archive folder, mind you. It's, of course, the migration folder. So wherever you have your migration folder in the file system, there's the INP folder. And you might have other INP files if you use the feature before, the application data service. So let's rename this to old. And let's put the new datamic INP file in here. So before we run the incremental migration, we need a watermark file. We're doing asynchronous slow motion. I have pressed that button already, the 3 mustaches, and I created this new watermark file, which I am about to copy over to the development environment. So here I'm doing just that. So here's the file in a temporary location and moving it to the migration folder on the development machine where the migration application runs. So there's my watermark file. So now I can go and create a new migration plan. So that'll be incremental 22.11. So dev2 is my source. So I'll need the incremental runtime repository data service, which enforces the schema service. I can choose the incremental application workspace data service to take care of any list of values included in the repository upgrade. And by the way, if you want to check on those, you can go to that folder. So here's the repository upgrade log folder, and there for each version applied, 2211, there are log files. Or you can also check out the repository upgrade to sort that a little bit, get the latest one, ran it a few times. So you can run the repository upgrade HTML report, open that, go for seed, and we'll see the list of values that were imported by 2211 repository upgrade. So you might need them in your test or production environment too. So there's the keyword, There's the responsibility. So here we just make sure list of values is checked. Incremental application workspace data service, and we need to check application data service to make use of that data make.inp file we just discussed to export the relevant C data. So this is a good incremental migration plan after a repository upgrade. There are no files introduced by the repository upgrade, so any new files, any new JavaScript files by Oracle, they are applied through the regular update that you run on your, of course you have already run it, on your test or production environment. So this incremental migration of the repository upgrade changes is happening after the update of the test or production environment. So we don't need to worry about the files right now. Okay, let's save this plan and run it. Okay, and of course it asks for the package name. So this is Inc2211 and the watermark file, which I enter and get workspace details. It finds that there's only one version to export, version 8, which is the result of the delivery of that int.ru workspace into main. And my test environment where I want to migrate this to is running off the main workspace. So this could of course differ in your environment. So let's run it, see what happens. So yeah, schema service is running. That will take a while. The incremental runtime repository data service export, workspace data service exports running. Let's see, we have some log files here. There are 2 rows, list of values that it found. Already completed. The application data service is interesting. Yeah, it exported those rows that we specified, or that the repository upgrade specified in the automatically generated data make.inp file, which you could change if you want to. Yeah, the repository data, well, it will run for a while. There's still some stuff here, and the schema service will run also for quite a long time. So we will come back to this when the execution is finished. So the execution has finished successfully. Took like 3-4 minutes, and we're looking already at the history record here. So just verifying everything was okay. We got us a zip file now, which we need to, it's asynchronous. We need to move over to the target test environment and run a plan to import it there. Let's move the file. So here's the zip file. Here's my temporary folder, copying it over. And I'll see you on the other side then. So here we are on the test environment, and the zip file, we have to move it over to the test environment's migration location. So yeah, the file has arrived. Let's copy the name, and in the migration application on the test environment, create a migration plan for incremental 2211 import. So test, of course, is our target here, and we have incremental runtime repository data service, application workspace data service, and application data service. So all this is in the zip file now, and the services will import it. So save that plan, and let's run it. So we have to specify the zip file name. Password for the table owner is OK. And yeah, go SICM. So here's our plan running. Schema service is first applying the, well, probably not many, but there are schema changes in almost every repository upgrade. The schema service, the mandatory schema services, by the way, are done by the post-install database, but the mandatory post-install database setup utility. But the repository upgrade might have just, or has in this case, made more schema changes, and those are now transported over. Or, well, actually synchronized or applied to the database. Yeah, we have to wait this out as long as it takes. Since this includes a schema change, be aware that a restart of the environment might be the best choice that you have. If you cannot restart because it's production and you want to have low downtime, you might have to restart some components individually which read the dictionary cache, the dic cache file. That should be regenerated properly by dbcheck, which runs in a later stage. But the components might not have picked it up, so that still is an issue, not a big one, but needs to be taken care of. So, interesting piece here, looking at the log file of the schema service. That was exactly one column modified. So that's the change that repository upgrade did. And if you're curious, search for modifying column in that log file, and we'll find that, well, this table, some loyalty table, got well, the resp_val column modified. Further details are in the repository, of course. So change from Oracle here. In the meantime, the incremental runtime repository data service running its import. Let's check out the log file here. Almost done. There's quite some stuff here because it's a, well, including schema changes, actually pre-deleting a lot of stuff. That's leftovers, I think. That's design repository tables. They should be here anyway. That's taking care of those. That's fine. So here's the import proper. Okay, that's the mandatory design repository. It should be there. It's pre-deleted, then imported like assignment objects and so forth, making sure everything's synchronized with the development environment. And probably almost done here. Yeah. Took 2 minutes to synchronize this. And, well, we're almost there. dbcheck runs successfully. The workspace data import application data service running. Let's check out the log file. So we have those 7 records imported. And another refresh yields, well, execution has completed. Let's check the history. And there's a success status here. Great. So that's almost there. Let's verify some strings here. So just to verify, log into the application and let's go to the workspace dashboard where we have as a new version of the main workspace in the RR database, which is great from today. And all the repository stuff is basically available right now to the application. If you have a new session, it loads that latest version of main, unless you specify different or rollback, etc., which we don't do right now. And remember, there's some C data changes. So let's verify those. There is this invoke REST keyword for test automation, and it's a test environment, so test automation is very critical. So let's check out the keywords table in the release screen. If we have the invoke REST keyword, and indeed we have it. So our test scripts can now include REST calls to the Siebel inbound REST API in 22.11, and later that's a feature, which is great to have. So the repository upgrade imported that keyword into the development database and the migration application using the application data service, and that pre-generated data MIG IMP file exported it and subsequently imported it here to the higher test or production environment. Especially in the test environment, you might want to use these new keywords. Another change we might want to check out, just to prove the point, is that new responsibility. The product authoring superuser, so other users can unlock lock versioned objects in a product administration space. Of course, if you just read the documentation, say, okay, this is a new responsibility, you can just create it manually here, would be equally fine, but the whole process took care of it, that it now is in your database, and you can start. Of course, that's not taken care of automatically, but you can start assigning users to that special new responsibility. And there you have it, a incremental migration after a repository upgrade, including non-workspace managed C data. How cool is that? Thanks for watching. Take care and bye-bye.